Here's a review of the SQL coding that we did on September 15th in class. So I'm at the website, the link to which you can find in my courses in the module section. It's repl.it/languages/SQLite. And repl, as I mentioned, is this abbreviation for read eval print loop, which is a common interactive programming tool. So I'm going to go over here to the text file. This is the file that's also available on my courses. And I will copy, let's just copy the top and come over here into the main.sql file zone and paste it. And you notice that it pastes all of the text, but it colors some of it. This coloring is called syntax highlighting or syntax sugar. And most of the blue words here are SQL keywords. Status is a variable that we're using, but it's mistakenly colored here. But notice the commands here and the data types are highlighted. I'm actually going to copy the next command too. So let's try this. I'll return to get down a little farther. And now before we run this, we're going to create a table, if it doesn't already exist, and we'll call it supplier, and it should have the following attributes. It should have a text attribute called supplier number, a text attribute named supplier name, text attribute called status, and text attribute called city. Then we're going to insert into that table called supplier, and here's a guideline for the SQL interpreter, that the following data is in the order of supplier number, supplier name, status, city, which is also the way we designated the file. And if let's just give ourselves some space, and I will hit the run button up here, and the results will appear over here. The results, if any, there are none. But what we can do is use the most basic of all SQL commands. Select star from and supplier, and then finish with a semicolon. That's the end of line terminator for SQL. So star here is a wildcard. So give me everything, select everything from supplier, and then if we run the command, we see this sort of little mini table that's got the supplier numbers in the first column, separated by these vertical bars, the supplier names, the supplier statuses, and the supplier cities. Let's see what else we have here. Let's create the parts table and populate it with some data and run it. And now let's do a select star from parts, semicolon, and run this again. Suppose we add another supplier. I'll copy this, insert into supplier, information for a supplier in Dublin named Murray. So this will insert into the supplier table in the following order: supplier number, city, status, supplier name, the values S6 Dublin 20 Murray. Notice that this is not in the same order in which we inserted the values for the first 5 suppliers. There we did supplier number, supplier name, status, city, which was the same as the way we created the table, but we're allowed to put things in a different order if we explicitly tell the DBMS where to put them in which column of the database. So now I'm going to add another line down here to do our usual select star from supplier, so we can see what we've done, if anything, with this command. And so you can see that we now have 6 different suppliers. S6 is Murray with a status of 20 in Dublin. But you know, maybe that was a mistake, or maybe we'd like to delete that supplier. So we could always, instead of insert, we could delete from supplier, where SNO, supplier number, is S6. Notice I have to capitalize the S and the 6. This string must exactly match this string. And then I've also got a second line in here to give us the supplier table again. And there you see that supplier number 6 is gone. Okay, what if I executed this delete clause, but without the restrict clause? That's the where part. And let's copy the select star from supplier and run things again. And there's nothing there. It looks like we've deleted all of our suppliers. That's because we didn't say delete only when supplier number is equal to S6. We executed all of these. So I'm going to make this line, the delete line, a comment, and then run the whole thing again, and hopefully we'll get some output over on the right that shows us that the supplier table is healthy again. And there you have it. This is including our deletion of the Murray in Dublin supplier. And there you have it. So now we have over in the code.txt file some other items. Notice that we can pick from the database supplier number, supplier name from the supplier database, where the supplier name is like J. Those percentage signs we'll get to later, but they're sort of like wild cards. They are SQL wildcards, and if we run this, it will give us all of the supplier number and supplier name data for suppliers from the supplier database where their name has J. And that's what this final line is, S2 and Jones. We only asked for 2 columns. We did a projection on the database to get 2 columns. And we did a restriction to get only those suppliers who have a J in their name. So there's a little review. You can go through and try some other commands looking at the data, practice, see if you can find other kinds of data. Select city from parts where city like O. So it got London, Oslo, London, and London. They all have those. So there, if we had created the status as an integer instead of text, we could do some greater than or equal to on it. We could do some math on that as well. And those are a couple of peeks into what we'll be doing with SQL.